So, first of all, thank you for taking some time out of your night to hang out and chat for a bit. Um, with everything going on, I mean, not that we're crazy busy right now, but everybody's kind of going insane, myself included. Um, so, you work in the courthouse, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, you've probably got some pretty crazy stories of shit that you see, because, like, I feel like not that everybody that goes through the courthouse is a horrible person, but you probably see the dregs of society get dragged through there from time to time.
I feel like a lot of it has to do with a lot of interesting different types of people. Because as you say, not a lot of people are criminals, but a lot of people come to court are coming for different reasons, whether it's for family court, civil court, criminal court, depending on what type of position you work in. And you also, for the most part, when you think about it, is that people aren't coming to court for a good reason. So
Right.
they're not happy in the first place. They're there to settle some type of dispute, whatever it may be, but they're definitely not happy. The only people who are happy coming to court are for adoptions.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I didn't.
It's a very nice day of the month. They do it once a month. Very happy people.
Okay, so that's probably kind of nice to be. You probably enjoy when you get to work that day.
Yeah,
I really never even thought of something like that. That's actually kind of cool.
it's very cute. Kids get to dress up in like little like suits
Yeah.
and they get like adopted by their family. It's really cute. They're all really
That.
happy. Everyone's really happy. So those days are like really fun. It's just fun to be in the courthouse that day.
Yeah. No, I can only imagine. That's great. I like I said, I never even thought of something like that, but it makes sense. Um, so you've got one day a month that's good. What what's the rest of it like?
A lot of it, when you think of day to day, is kind of just like very mundane and kind of like the same, with any other typical job, I would think.
Hmm.
But obviously, when working in some type of law enforcement, you deal with different circumstances every day and you deal with different events. And sometimes craziness happens. And just because people consider courthouse maybe a safe type of area doesn't mean necessarily that people aren't going to try to do things where they bring weapons in, try to start fights or other nonsense. A lot of things, too, when you think about it, is that this is also a guaranteed place where conflicting gangs will be, conflicting personalities, and troublesome characters are going to be.
Are there how many gangs are there in the area that you cover that you see come through like on a daily basis?
It's hard to say specifically. There's a lot of obviously like the well-known gangs are going to come through, like Latin Kings, Bloods,
Hmm.
Crips, those types, Aryan Brotherhood sometimes, Muslim Brotherhood. Those are like the top kind of like five gangs I would say that are like really big. But a lot of times, smaller gangs they just use like their street name and like a number corresponding with the name, like the area code, like 347
Hmm.
and like whatever their street name is as their gang. So it could be a small gang of like five people, and they might be kind of absorbed by a larger gang. But it's hard. I would say a lot of people in like lower criminal courts, so like things dealing with misdemeanors or felonies prior to being indicted on a felony, are in some type of small gang.
Hmm.
It's hard to say. Like there's just like a lot of activity
There's just
going on, and
yeah.
you try to keep track of it for the most part. But it's really hard with everybody wants like their own style of a gang or different it like they all kind of almost fall under the same like umbrella, but they all just want to be called something different. It just seems weird.
That is yeah. So what happens when you see them in court and they're like all together in the same place?
I mean, for the most part, a courthouse is a public building. If you don't pose any threat on your way in, you don't have any issues coming through security, whether it be like weapons, contraband, that could be anything from like people, things that are illegal, but also things that are illegal that you can't have in a courthouse. Like, for example, um, like tools, like wrenches or hammers or like pocket knives. Like they're not illegal to own or possess. You can't bring them in a courthouse. So like stuff like that, we can voucher when we're inside the courthouse. So we'll take that from you. You get it on your way out. But if you're not causing any issues on the way in or out, you kind of it's up to you to see how you want us to react to you. We're very reactive instead of proactive. So obviously, if we feel like there's a high gang activity, with some cases when you have possibly like a leader who's arrested or indicted on some type of thing, and a lot of members come out to show their support and wear their colors in the courtroom, they'll come in the courtroom. They're welcome to sit in the courtroom. They're fine to be there. But just because there's a large presence in them doesn't mean that all of a sudden now you can talk, now you can do whatever you want in the courtroom. You still have to obey the rules of the courthouse.
Sure.
As long as they obey the rules, they're permitted to stay. If they want to do things like they want to mouth off while court proceedings are going on, they want to try to start fights or something like that, we can kick them out, we can arrest them, summons them, a couple of different options.
So does it happen often that like when you get a large group of them in there that they normally like kind of play by the rules in that house, or is it a crapshoot as to whether or not you're going to get obedience or disarray?
It depends what they're there for. Sometimes a lot of what they like to do is sometimes they send like a scout in to kind of just see who opposing members or people who oppose the gang, like when their court cases are, so they can try and follow them out of the courthouse once they're done there because they know this is where they will appear on that day. So they'll use that as like a reference point to do something for a later date, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have them on trials, they might try to just pack the audience to try to intimidate like a witness or somebody who's ratting on the crew so that they all know what their face looks like. And like typically if you have somebody who like is going to rat on your crew, you already know who his family is. So you're just there to post some type of intimidating thing. They know for the most part, like if they start something, they're done, they're out. And we've done it where, you want to get kicked out for the rest of the trial, we can do that too. Like we're here, we understand you want to be supportive, like your family or friends or whatever it may be, but that doesn't mean that you get to just unleash all your emotions on. Yeah, exactly. So we've had banned people from just the entire trial. Like you've shown to us that you don't know how to behave yourself. You want to act irrational and erratic, and you pose a danger or a risk to either the public or to other workers or to witnesses or whatever the case may be. So now you're not allowed to visit. Unless you have a court case, you're not going up into the building. You're not going to that trial. You're not going to see the rest of the continuation of the case. That's it.
And then what happens if they show up?
Well, we can kick them out. If they refuse, it could be a number of things that you're like. Usually, obviously, you would have a reason as to why they're not allowed into the building, and then you're using that reason to explain why they can't come in. Like, okay, well, we know, like for one instance, we had some guy causing like a disturbance. He was yelling a lot, just like dumb stuff, like just simple stuff, not enough like you really want to go through and like try to arrest somebody or like summon somebody. It's just like a lot of like miscellaneous kind of like low end stuff that people are doing. So you tell them, listen, you're yelling, you're causing, kind of like an obstruction. We call it like obstruction of official business, really, because you're obstructing court. Like if you're going to sit there and like make a scene, so to speak, inside of the audience or something like that, now it delays the process for whoever's court case is on trial or whatever it is to clear out the courtroom and then to get you handled. So now you're not welcome back. That already in itself is a summons. If we don't summons you or put you, depending on how serious it got, put you in cuffs and fully arrest you for it, we can escort you out of the building. And when you try to come back in, you're just kind of like explaining like, listen, what you're doing right now is obstruction. So what that entails is technically it can be anywhere from a summonsable offense to an arrestable offense, which is a misdemeanor for obstructing justice. So if you feel like you're the direct reason as to why, okay, now the judge has to get off the bench, now the witness has to get off the bench, now the court has to take a 10-minute recess because they need to get everything back together because you're screaming in the background, like that's something that you're just now denied back into.
Yeah. So is that like a normal thing? Like you see like all like huge court cases like that coming through, or is it mostly just like common people, just traffic stops and all the other bullshit that we normally see?
It's a lot of common stuff. I mean, every now and then, depending on the borough, you'll get very high profile cases. We call them like media cases or high profile. It just means that when the media is here, usually it has something to do with like a high gang related thing, or like a well known person or a reputable person in the community that gets, injured or hurt or killed from something, and that case is on trial, or is a reputable like gang member or something that's involved in something that gets an arrest. One of the things was a while back I know on Staten Island was I don't remember if he was, I know he was part of the like US, I think it was the Army or the Navy. I don't remember exactly for sure, but he ended up murdering his wife and his like two daughters allegedly.
Oh, I
So
remember hearing about that.
so obviously like someone like that, you don't get a presence of gangs, you get a very high presence of army officials or military officials, I should say. So
Hmm.
people from both the Navy and the Army were coming in and just flooding the courthouse. Totally respectable, totally fine. They can do that. But that's like another instance where it's of
You kind of
people
have
like
to keep it
flooding
under
the court. And
control.
yeah, exactly. Because obviously they're gonna have very mixed opinions on the guy because they both probably worked with him and worked with his wife. Think their own opinions about what happened, which is obviously perfectly fine. You can think that, but just don't have like any outburst.
Right.
Yeah, so like for the most part, you see like normal cases, but every now and then, like one of those trials will come on or something of that nature, and trials can last, anywhere from like 2 weeks to like a month and a half, depending on like the severity and depending on how long it lasts. There's a lot of like factors. So when the trial's going on, a lot of times like you'll see the same people come in every day, and they
Hmm.
may be gang related. There was one with a murder, um, a gang. I don't remember which gang it was. They were trying to do a hit on somebody, and they ended up shooting innocent bystander. She was standing at like a bus stop, and they ended up shooting, missing their target, and hitting her and killing her.
Hmm.
So while that trial was going on, a lot of people were coming in, both family for the guys who were on trial, and then also their friends or other gang members were coming in. And so we have higher presence when it's going on. So there's
Hmm.
more officers typically in the courthouse or like in that specific courtroom or on that floor that it's on to kind of just do audience maintenance, make sure no one's doing things. Because we also have like other rules where you can't take pictures or record in the courthouse.
Right.
Under New York State law, it's that you have to get permission from the judge of that court to be able to record. That goes for everyday citizens to media to
Is that like
anybody.
ever allowed? Do they ever actually like grant anybody the ability to do that?
Yes. A lot of times they usually ask from arraignments, and whoever is their arraignment judge will pass it on. Sometimes Supreme Court might ask the media to re-ask it, and they might deny it or continue it from there. But a lot of times, especially with media cases, they'll allow photos, but usually not video. Video is kind of like rare. I've only seen it
Hmm.
happen like 2 times. One time, a film team was actually doing a documentary on somebody who was in prison, so they filmed the court proceeding,
Right.
and then the other time the judge allowed film, but most of the time they either allow pictures or they don't really allow anything at all. Most of the time they do allow pictures.
Hmm. Um. So then those are the exciting days. What now? Earlier you had mentioned that like when people come through court and you're kind of processing them on the way in, there's certain things that they're allowed to have, not allowed to have. What's like the craziest thing that you've seen someone try and actually willingly bring into court? Like they knew they had it, they knew they weren't supposed to have it, and they gave it a shot anyway.
Do you want funny or do you want semi-serious?
Give me both.
All right, so for funny, I think my funniest ones are people who bring in dildos.
Wait a minute. I don't even know where to start with that one. Like, is that like a real like common thing?
It happens a lot more than you think,
All right,
and
define a lot more than I think.
at least a few times a week.
That's a lot.
Like, I mean, all
What?
right, give on average, maybe we go through like, I don't know, maybe thousands of people every day, right? Let's just say like that. Let's just say we do let's just say we do like 3,000 people a day.
Yeah.
It still feels like a lot that I should see a dildo more than once a week. Like
Well, yeah. I
it's a
would say
lot.
to going to court, if you see a dildo more than once a month, if that's a lot.
So yeah, it's a lot. But
I mean,
a lot of people bring that in, and like that's like kind of the stuff like where I'll just like kind of mess with them a little bit. I've done it before. It's super funny. Or you make like a rookie take it out.
like
It's
what do
just so
you
funny.
how do you confront somebody about that? Like that's like, first of all, if you know that that's what you've got in your bag, like I mean, are they planning on using it throughout the day?
That's always my question. I have no idea why they bring it. I have no idea what they're doing with it. Um, I usually joke around with them. So obviously it comes through. What I like to do is their personal property or their bags or whatever it may be goes through the magnetometer, which is like
Right.
an X-ray scan, obviously. So you can see it doesn't show it like super clearly. It's hard to like describe it if you've never seen it before, but it does an overhead picture of it. So like everything's
Right.
stacked on top of each other. So like
So like one of those things
obviously,
where like when you go through the airport, how you can see like they've got
exactly.
the X-ray machine that shows like everything in your bag.
So yeah, when everything's like on top of each other, it's kind of hard to see exactly. Like unless they
Mm-hmm.
have like not a lot in their bag, but they have a bag stacked full of stuff, like it's hard to see. So you might go through their luggage and stuff like that. Which is a side note. When you're entering in any public or government building, you're giving up your Fourth Amendment right to search and seizure because you're allowed to be searched, obviously entering upon the building, which a lot of people think doesn't
I
apply
guess
to
that makes
them.
sense.
But regardless of that, so the bag will come through. I'll see something. At this point, a couple of years on, so I kind of know what I'm looking at
Yeah.
for the most part. So I know like, oh, okay, I know that's a pen. Okay, I know that's a book. I know that's whatever.
Sure.
Or like certain things obviously pop out more distinguished than other things. And they've had so like I'll definitely see it. I'll definitely 100% see a dildo, and I know it's a dildo. And like these people are not shy about it. They have like a full 12-inch dildo in there. Like it's I
That
have a picture
that's
of it. It's hysterical.
that's absolutely hysterical. Have you ever asked them like why they would bring something like that to court?
I don't ask them why, but I like to just make them realize that they like. Sometimes I feel like they don't think that they have it, and like I'm just trying to be playful or whatever, and just trying to make everyone laugh. So I'll do things like it'll come through. I 100% know what it is. I
Yeah.
don't see anything else dangerous in the bag, so I'll be like, I'm just gonna check out the bag. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you don't have anything in here that you wouldn't want to have, right? They're like, no. Of course, like I'm naming things like weapons and stuff like that, just trying
Right.
to play it off. And they're like, no, of course not. I'm like, are you sure? You're positive before I go through this bag that you don't have anything you don't want me to see or like take out? They're like, 100%. I'm like, cool. Just wanted to make sure before I do anything dumb. And I'm like, nothing in there to poke me, right? I keep a straight face usually for the most time. I'm like, nothing in there to poke me, stab me, nothing like that. All right, good, okay. Now, I see something on the screen. Just want to ask you a couple questions about. May know it's in the bottom of your bag. I don't know if you know it's there. You think you have anything that I don't know? Maybe possibly something you can use as like a weapon to hit people. Probably approximately about
Is
8 to
that
12
typically
eight
considered a
inches.
weapon?
Uh, well, I mean, I guess if you wanted to qualify it as that, it's a lot of like gray area in terms of like what you feel is dangerous or not. Usually, that I'm not going to pick up. I'm not going to touch that.
Well,
But
yeah.
if it's most of them obviously like rubber or whatever,
Uh-huh.
so you pick it up if it has like in typical circumstances, if it's something that I feel like has a lot of weight to it, or you can put a lot of weight into it to hurt somebody,
Mm-hmm.
I'll voucher it. Whatever. I vouchered dumb things before. I'll get into like the dumb things I vouchered, but most of the time, like if I look at it and I'm like, my opinion is, if you're crafty enough to be able to hit somebody with a 12-inch dildo, you deserve that knock on the person. And if you're slow enough to not react to a 12-inch dildo slamming you in the face, you deserve that.
I
So
mean, at the same time, though, I'd be like, if I went to court and somebody whipped out a 12-inch dildo to slap me in the head with, I think I'd be stunned just
yeah,
at the sight of I'm in court and somebody whipped a 12-inch dildo out to hit me.
yeah. I mean, It's definitely something I've seen before, though. But so I'll joke around, like, sir, ma'am, do you have any items in your bag? Do you think you could, I don't know, possibly hit somebody with approximately 8 to 12 inches? And then that's when it'll hit them, and they'll
Like,
just get super red.
oh.
And I'm just like, yeah, you're good to go. I just wanted to embarrass you a little bit, but for the most part, like I've never vouchered one before.
Right.
I have made, like, when you're teaching new guys, obviously the ropes and everything like that, you have them. If you don't know what something is, my recommendation is always you just take it out and look at it. Like, I found plenty of dumb things like that, like things that people should not have, because if you stack a lot of things on top of each other, it just looks like a mess. Like, you could have a pocket knife, but if you stack like 6 phones on it, or if you stack, or even my best example is coins. If you have a bag of coins or a roll of coins, it shows up as like just a legit black brick. Like, you have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
So something like that, I tell them, like, do you know what that is? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, how are you going to let somebody into the building if you don't know what that is? Like, what is it then? Like, find out what it is.
Yeah, you got to figure out what it is.
So my favorite part is when people come in and they have dildos that have vibrators, and they have, or like some type of batteries, because it shows up differently when you have electronics, like something like aluminum and stuff like that. It shows up like blue.
Sure.
So I'm like, do you know what that is? And they're like, no. I know what it is.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like,
you've seen
you need to take that out
to know what it is.
So that's always like the rite of passage, is making a rookie take out a dildo. Best thing ever. They're like, taking it out, and it's usually in something, like whether it's like so they're gonna grab it by like whatever shaft, and they're just gonna like take it out, and you're just like, this is just gold right now. Like, this is just great. The person's red as a kite, and they have no idea that I'm just pulling.
You're just doing this for your own personal entertainment at this point.
And the rookie has no idea what's happening. He just knows the guy or girl is super embarrassed, and he has no idea what he's holding. And I'm just like, yeah, by the way, that's a dildo. I just wanted to make sure that you knew what it was. I've also had like weird things come in. So here are 2 weird things that came through that I distinctly remember. It wasn't enough to like hold it. It wasn't like illegal. It was just weird. This guy came in, and he has like a toolbox. But it was one of those toolboxes that are meant to hold a specific tool, and like maybe different change outs of like if it was supposed to hold like a drill, it had the the cutout to hold the drill.
Like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then like it's other different
it's a box
types
that's got like a cutout for the drill and any accessories that would have come with
exactly
it, like the battery or something like that.
Exactly. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I know this guy's not going to be able to hold this, whatever. It's fine. So, like, that's just like one of the things, like tools you're not going to be able to carry in there. Obviously, they're legal and you can carry them around, but I don't want you like doing whatever, like using it as a weapon, drilling into the walls for whatever reason, dumb stuff like that. So that's one of the things we'll hold. So he comes in with that. So I'm assuming I'm going to vouch for it because I assume there's a drill in there. I was wrong. So he puts it through. Obviously, he puts it on the belt or the conveyor belt, and it goes through. And now, I wish I had a picture to show you, but dolls come up really creepy on the machine because they're just like the plastic, so you don't see the eyes or anything like that. So it looks really creepy on the machine. So I've never seen a doll come through either. So it's a little Barbie doll inside of the thing. It's the only thing in there. And the little Barbie doll has no clothes on. And I'm like, I could see it, so I'm like, I have to open this up now because like I just don't understand like what's inside based on like the image I'm seeing on the screen. So I'm like, I open it up. It's literally a solo Barbie doll by itself, just laying where the drill would be, with nothing else in there. And I was like, I'm just gonna hold this box, I guess. Like it just gives me weird vibes.
I have to know what this guy was in court for.
I have no idea what he was in there for. I did not
ask. A naked Barbie doll in like a drill like toolbox.
I have no idea, and it still bothers me to this day. But so the other thing too is funny.
Creepy. Like, that's
it was so creepy, and I was like, okay. I was like, I really don't know. Like, and then something like obviously if you get like a weird vibe, I'm like, I'm just gonna hold it. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do. I'm just gonna hold the whole box. I was like, do you need anything out of here? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. So I get his information down. I write a receipt for him so he can pick it up on his way out. 5 minutes later, he comes back and he goes, I'm like, oh, are you done? Like, it's fine. I'll give you the box. You can go on your merry way. He's like, no, actually, could I just have the doll with me? I was like,
what?
So there, obviously, yeah, he was alone. So I gave him just the doll, and I held the box, and he just and he went off to whatever else he was gonna do. I was like, I don't even want to know where he's going. Like,
I mean, is it possible that he had like a microphone or like a camera or something embedded in the doll, or would you be able to see that when you scanned it?
Typically, you would see it when you scan it because a lot of metal or a lot of electronics, they come up either like blue or like a bluish green tint. Mm-hmm. So you can see like they have some type of electronics to it.
Yeah.
But it came up like orange is like plastic, or like organic material.
Right.
So it was all organic. So I don't know if he needed it for comfort or he just wanted to carry it around with him.
Just wanted to carry it around. How old do you think this guy was, if you had to guesstimate?
Late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, wow. I think it would have been creepier if he was like weird. 60 years old. It's still super weird, but I was kind of hoping that you were going to say that he was like older.
Yeah,
like
me and my
old man kind of older.
Me and my coworker were just like,
what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, I was like, this is super weird. Okay. The other weird thing, it isn't like super weird, but this guy came in, he had a bunch of jewelry, which is fine, so he's putting it all into the tray. Usually I like them to walk through like the magtometer.
Yeah.
Or like to the magtometer, and then like I'll put their stuff through the x-ray, and then on the other side, once they've cleared the magtometer, like they didn't ring, they didn't have any metal on them or anything of that nature, then I'll like ask them about their property, like if I have any questions about like what something may or may not be. If I could look at, like if I want to see something specific in the bag, like if I can't figure out what it is. So this guy only has like a tray of stuff, so he doesn't have a backpack or anything. That's cool. A lot of his jewelry comes up like black, like it comes up black on the screen. That means like it's very dense metal, which means usually that it's like real. Like a lot of people come in Rolexes and they come up like light blue, like you bought a Rolex in Chinatown. Thank you, right. I can tell.
So wait, hold on for 1 second. When it shows up blue, what is that?
Blue is a metal, like any type of metal.
Okay.
Or like, yeah, like basically any metal. But the darker it is, or like as it becomes like dark blue into black, is denser metal.
Okay, so like if you tried to pass like lead.
If you bring lead, it'll show up black. If you bring in like a gold watch and it's actually gold, it'll show up black or like dark blue. If you come in with your whatever, your Patek
aluminum,
you come in with your Patek and it comes up like light blue, you bought a fake Patek.
Yeah.
Like, so this guy comes in, his jewelry comes, so I have to look at the jewelry because it shows up just like as black on the screen. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to but one funny thing that comes up is he has a giant Jesus chain, which I didn't see him put in. So there's just a giant Jesus face on my screen. And I'm like, I look up, I'm like this, I just feel the man judging me. It's like weird. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm looking through his stuff, and he actually had, so there's this substance that he had, like in a little plastic, like Ziploc bag. I wasn't sure what it was, so like I try to give people obviously the benefit of the doubt. I try to just ask them and see if that really makes sense to me. Like if it makes sense to me and what he's saying seems like factual and it doesn't seem like he's lying, then it's like okay. Like I don't feel the need to dig into it deeper. It didn't look like dangerous or anything like that. So I asked him like, "What is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's gunpowder." And I'm like,
"What?"
I was like, "What?" I was like, "Why?" He goes, "It's good to clean up jewelry." I go, "Okay." I was like, "You wait here." I was like, "I've never heard that before." So now I have to go look it up. I was like, "Because I've never heard that before." And apparently that's a real thing that you can use gunpowder to clean up jewelry.
Where do you buy just plain gunpowder though? Like that?
I don't know.
I've never heard of anybody just having access to gunpowder.
Totally threw me off with that. I was like, I'm not sure if you would go to like a jewelry store then maybe if it's an actual thing to clean up jewelry. He said it's used to clean up like silver and stuff like that. I was like, okay, like that's something like I'm really not sure about. So if I'm ever not sure about something, and I'm like at the time I was still new, so I was like, I don't really have the experience to make a judgment call right now. So
Hmm.
let me just ask the supervisor. So
How
we
much gunpowder did he have on him?
it wasn't a lot. It was a small baggie, like not enough to do like any harm with.
Right, but
Like he wasn't gonna like Wyatt Coyote like stuff it into like a little rocket thing and
like
like
it was
blast
enough
people
that
with
like
it.
if he was to like sprinkle it on something, he could use it as like some sort of
Yeah,
abrasive or.
it was
But
just
it's
weird to
weird.
me. So I
Well,
was like,
yeah,
like I'll just hold it because I was like, I believe you because I looked it up and apparently that's a real thing that you can actually use gunpowder to clean some jewelry
and also
and it
he was just
works.
straight up saying like he wasn't
Yeah,
trying to
so I
like
was like,
hide what it was. He's just like, yeah, it's gunpowder.
yeah, and as far as I know, like I never actually delved into the law of it. I don't know if gunpowder is illegal, so I was like, you know what? I'll just hold on to it. Just pick it up on your way out. I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, that doesn't. You don't seem like you don't look like the type of person who's got like some great contraption or concoction that you have set up that you're going to be able to use this in some like grand scheme. And I just like let it go by. So I was like, I'll just hold on to it. I was like,
Yeah.
it's whatever. We always write down weird things. People brought in some weird stuff before.
Well, okay, now we've covered gunpowder and dildos as weird. Is that like the weirdest, or does the rabbit hole go deeper for that?
One time we x-rayed a hamster because no one told us that there was an animal in it, and they brought a hamster with them to
Did
court. And it shows up, by the way, as a full skeleton, in case you didn't know, as you would think because it's an x ray machine.
so there's just like a full skeleton just running around in like a wheel inside a
Well,
bag.
basically, it was in a small bag and it went through. And we're like, do you have a skeleton or like small animal remains in your bag? And they're like, no, I have a hamster. And we're like,
It's not the remains; it's the whole thing. It's still
yeah,
alive.
it's still alive. And we're like, why would you not tell us that before putting it through an X-ray machine? For one, and it's like two, you can't bring that in. So I'm not sure exactly what you want to do with it, but we're not gonna hold it. Like there's certain things we're not gonna hold.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna hold your pets. I'm not gonna hold food because it's a health code violation, and or drinks.
Right.
So like weird stuff, and obviously like things that are illegal that I
Mhm.
like. If somebody comes in with a crack pipe or a bong, like is it illegal? You could probably find residue on it and confiscate it. Do I really want to do that? Probably not. Do I want to
I
tell you
mean,
to either take it out to your car or leave it outside somewhere? That's not my problem.
so
More so.
uh, well, that leads to a whole nother question. I mean, people actually try and bring in crack pipes and bongs and think that they're gonna like get searched and that all is good.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people think that. Well, the thing talk about marijuana. Marijuana obviously is like decriminalized in New York,
Right.
which is fine. For that, doesn't matter to me. But at the time, and at this time, though currently, it's still legal.
Hmm.
So obviously, if I see marijuana or you tell me you have it, that is an arrestable offense or at least a summonsable one, depending on like the quantity that you have. And
Right.
like even if it's a joint, it's stupid. But like once like people prove to you that's what it is, and then like you gotta imagine a lot of times like personally we don't have body cams as court officers, but we have cameras obviously in our building.
Sure.
Like so once you show me on camera like okay you have marijuana, like if I don't do something about it, that's on me.
It's your ass.
So now unfortunately you're gonna be the one who feels it because I'm not gonna get in trouble because you're an idiot.
Well, yeah. I mean, like you go into a courthouse and there's obviously like the few times that I've been to court for like speeding tickets and stuff. I know there's going to be officers there. I know there's going to be some sort of law enforcement. I know I'm going to have to deal with like getting some sort of search, going through a metal detector, whatever. Um, I, I don't understand how people think that they can get away with like walking into the courthouse, getting searched, telling you they have it, and then walking away with nothing. That's like, I mean,
Yeah,
it just invites problems.
yeah. It kind of boggles my mind sometimes that I would think too. A lot of the times, I'll get into some other stories in a little bit
All right.
about people who have some type of warrant or are being currently looked into some type of investigation. You would think that the most or the best thing for you is to say a low profile.
Sure.
Like, you know, you've been to court before, maybe you haven't, but you have some kind of impression that you might get searched. Even if you haven't ever been to court before, while you're online and you're thinking, that looks like they're searching people. It just seems like some part of common sense will come in and be like, you know what, do I have anything on me? Like, all right, I might sacrifice 10 minutes of waiting in a line, but at least I know, like, I 100% don't have anything on me.
Sure.
A lot of times, give a lot of chances. I like to ask a lot of questions about making sure that people don't have things on it. People find it annoying. I don't really care. I'd like to do as little paperwork as I want.
Well, yeah, I
Which
mean,
is,
like, the way that I would look at it, and you can tell me if I'm right or not, is that if I was in your position, I'm not going to want to have to deal with the process of arresting someone or, dealing with whatever they're bringing in that's not supposed to be there. So I would want to give them every opportunity to avoid causing a problem for themselves before they cause a problem. And then if they cause a problem, it's like, well, you brought this on yourself.
exactly. Like, one of my whole things is, or that they tell people, obviously, is don't go looking for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Trouble will find you.
Yeah.
That's it. I try not to go looking for trouble, and trouble has found me plenty of times.
Yeah.
I just try to go about my day.
What you do.
I'm just trying to do what I gotta do. I don't want to do extra work. I don't want to do more than I have to. I'm just trying to do my job and do it to the best of my capabilities. But I'm also not trying to go out there and be like RoboCop, stop everybody for some simple violation. Technically, one of the dumb things that are illegal. Still, I'm pretty sure. Actually, they might have changed it to a health code violation, but one of the things that used to be illegal in New York is spitting on the sidewalk. That you can't spit on the sidewalk. Like, technically, you could summon somebody for that. I can give you a ticket for spitting. So I think it's a health code now, but I'm not 100%.
So I'd be kind of torn on something like that, because on one hand, it's like, that's disgusting to spit where someone's actually going to walk. And New York is already kind of dirty as it is.
Yeah.
You walk around and you I mean, just being real, I like New York, but you can't walk a block without smelling piss.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I feel like a solid deterrent to, like, keeping people from exacerbating that problem is stopping them from spitting on the sidewalk. Do I think it's I'd be so torn on, if I was in your position, on whether or not I'd be actually issuing the summons or whether or not I'd be giving them, like, a stern talking to.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like I told you, like, it really depends on the people's attitudes. Like, again, like, with the second chances and stuff like that, it's like, like, you're an adult. Like, I want to talk to you like an adult. I don't have the time to talk down to you like you're a child. You should be able to comprehend simple things like whatever it is, if it's bringing illegal stuff or possibly contraband into a courthouse, or if it's dumb things like shouting at people. Like, I told you prior that one of the things that's illegal sounds like way worse than it is, but it's a violation to use obscene language in public in New York. So, like, okay, you can't go around being like, hey, like, you can't just go, technically speaking, I could summons you if you went up to somebody and said, like, hey, fuck you. And I told you, hey, you can't do that. And then you told me to go fuck myself. I'll be like, okay, like, I can issue a summons because you're being obscene, because that's part of the discon. Well, so, or like, discon is just disorderly conduct.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say, wouldn't that be like something that would fall under, like, disturbing the peace? Or
yeah, so discon has, like, certain like, in the penal law 24020 is the code. Mm-hmm. So, but under it has, like, section A, B, C, and D, F, and E. Like, one of them is, like, fighting. So, like, they took a fighting stance. They didn't actually fight yet. Someone, like, if someone steps up to you, like, sometimes, like, as an officer, like, sometimes when you're telling people what to do, or for something like, that you're going to summon somebody, instead of them actually just complying, and it's not really, like, resisting at that point. It's more just like they're going to square up and try to fight you. Then I'm just going to issue another summons for attempting to fight with me. So like one of those is like in the subsections, but it also has like obscene language. The violation version of obstruction of justice.
What would fall under something like that? Like
So we call it
how
just
is
like
that
OGA. Like that's something similar to like if someone disturbs something in the courthouse
right?
in that sense, and you're obstructing proceedings because that's obstruction of justice because you're preventing the court proceedings to go on.
Okay.
Or like let's say on the line, let's say you want to fight like on the line for I don't know, let's say the line's long. You're
Mm.
getting annoyed because you have to wait 30 minutes to get online or something
Instead of
silly
10.
like that.
Yeah.
Like whatever, something simple like and all of a sudden you start screaming on the line that you want to fight somebody. So we tell you to calm down and relax, go as fast as it goes, get over it. You decide that you're gonna just still create a scene and try to fight. I would charge you with OGA because now all the people who are trying to get into the building are now not going to be able to get into the building because I have to deal with you before I can let anyone else in the building now.
Yeah.
So like all the people behind you all need to move away and I deal with you. All of you in front of you have to move like off to the side kind of. And like we're not gonna let most of the time like it's probably we mostly use like presence to just like no one really wants to fight. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't come to work to want to fight people. If I want to be a fighter, I would have joined the UFC.
Right.
Like I don't want to fight, so we'll obviously use like presence. Like so, people will come off. So now you have less officers actually working the security, and now we're just gonna, you know, encircle you kind of like, yeah, you want to do something? There's like 17 of us. What are you gonna do? Like you gonna fight us
17
all?
of us, and we all have guns.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like no one wants to fight right now. Just be quiet. Literally take like another 10 minutes and you'll be gone. And like all you have to do is do whatever you have to do in courthouse and then go on your merry little way. But you know, if you want to keep creating a disturbance, and then some people are like, when you're trying to be kind and you're just trying to like kick them out, is always when they want to do the extra testing of like, oh, you can't do nothing to
Like
me,
how
yada
far are you
yada.
gonna go?
It's like, dude, I already figured out what I'm going to charge you with. Like, I'm just waiting for you to just keep egging me on, and I'll just be like, okay, I already have 6 charges that I'm going to hit you with. Like, whoopie doo.
Yeah.
Like, now I have to write 6 summonses. Yay. Like,
It's 6 more pieces of paperwork for you.
and obviously, like, each time you charge them with a summons, like, it's a little bit easier with the rest because the rest, you could charge them, obviously, when you book them, you're charging them
Mm-hmm.
with what you believe you're arresting them for.
Yeah.
And then the DA will formally charge them. So, like,
Okay.
you might arrest somebody. Sometimes when you see, like, a media case where someone is arrested for attempted murder, but the person's
Right.
obviously dead or passed away, whatever the case may be,
Right.
is because at the time that the officer booked them, they only had the suspicion of murder and they didn't actually, because, you know, you, as an officer, you can't declare death.
Okay.
That's a medical examiner's job, is to say that this person is pronounced somebody dead. So technically, you can't pronounce somebody dead, obviously. So you might have something in the sense where, as they're booked, they might be charged for that, but then when they actually get arraigned, will be the official charge of like murder, because
So
then
like
it's
if
proven.
you get arrested, like let's say you're involved in some sort of like shootout, and you get arrested, and the officers watched you put like a whole mag into somebody, and they're clearly dead. They would have to charge you at that time with attempted, and then it would get changed when you were officially charged by the DA.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I guess in like a sense like that, you would probably hold those people and then probably charge. Like it's kind of weird in situations like you charge them what you think it is, but obviously the DA is going to know much better on the law than you, so they'll
Yeah.
give them the official charge. Like technically, you could charge them with that, but the DA will look at the evidence that's they have and do with like the correct charges. Like sometimes you might like maybe not something like as drastic as that, but like something like maybe you arrest somebody because you think that they're inciting like a riot because it's more than 10 people. They seem to be like an angry mob. They're destroying stuff. Okay, so you arrest him and you arrest like 2 of his buddies, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So you charge them with like, I can't remember like the penal law for like riots and stuff like that, but something with like trying to star one or whatever it is, not dispersing, stuff like that. You might
Yeah.
charge them with that. But then the DA might go, oh, well, we looked at the footage and we saw that really it's only three of them, and you got all three of them. So instead of doing anything with a riot, because it's really only three of them and the other people are peaceful protesters, we're going to drop those charges down to destruction of property and like discount charges, something like that. So it
Okay.
might work in that sense.
So how many people would it have to be for it to be considered like a riot?
Usually riots like 10 or more.
Okay. Have you actually had to be? Have you ever been part of like breaking up something like that?
There was a couple times in the Bronx when I worked that you have very large gatherings of people who are very passionate about things, and it's more of a protest at the time, but you do have to do a lot of crowd control
Yeah.
because like a lot of people think of like when something like when there's actually like protests or rallies or some type of thing of that nature going on in towns like Ferguson or something like that,
Yeah.
where you have like officers in riot gear. Like a lot of times too, like at courthouses, you know, everyone kind of forgets that like okay, now it's up to the courthouse to handle the guy. Like now you have this like for instance, the junior case that happened in the Bronx. Teenager was murdered. He was stabbed by they arrested like I want to say 11 to 13 people,
Mm-hmm.
all part of the same gang. The name of the gang escapes me now, but when the verdicts were coming out or convictions for what these defendants were going to be getting, you had a lot of people outside like showing their support for the kid who was murdered. So they're like peaceful protesting, but then you have the family members on the other side, and that's like when things kind of clash,
Sure.
and people will just I don't know lose their emotions. Somebody will throw a punch somewhere, and then it just turns into like a brawl. I've had things like that happen before. There was one I can remember. It was for a verdict. It was a gang trial. Again, don't like they all kind of like blend together, so it's hard to
Yeah. I
remember
mean, I'm
like
sure
specific
after.
gangs and stuff like that. So it's just like you kind of remember like the majority of the case, but it's hard to remember like specifics unless you look at the report and you're like, oh, okay, right, this guy and that guy, and they're part of so and so gang. But it's two rival gangs in the courtroom, and they were waiting until they left the courtroom because apparently they think that like the hallways of the courthouse is like a different sacred area where I can't intervene because it's not inside the courtroom. It's just whatever. I guess.
It's not part of
Yeah,
the
it's.
building or something like that.
I'm not always out in the hallway, so like I
Wait,
guess I
wait,
can't
wait.
see or hear.
So is the like when they get screened, is that before or after this hallway?
It would be after they get screened. So like
So like you got screened on the way in. Uh, what makes you think that after you've gotten screened, you're even just because you're not in the courtroom physically, the courtroom, that like you're not still being watched?
I think it's all in like line of sight. They don't really
Or
see
they
like
don't
there's
see
less
you?
people in the hallway, but we have patrols who do hallway, and there's usually one person who's sitting on a floor.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it, like so there's one person maybe on a floor, but then there might be depending on the type of court, there might be like three. Well, there could be anywhere from like one officer up to like four or five officers in a single courtroom. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's just like on a normal basis. Like if there's obviously like a priority case or a press case, there's obviously gonna be more. But like the most part, like there's always gonna be an officer in the courtroom if it's open. So like that's by itself.
Yeah.
So they probably think that like, oh, okay, well there's three guys in there. So if I go out here and fight, no one's gonna notice me except for the one guy. But like it's the buildings are big, but it's not big enough where
It's not
like
that big.
yeah, it's like I can still run a fair distance. Like and there's nowhere to go. Like you're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to escape me. Like there's like
You're in the building. You're
that
not
is
getting
the
away.
worst thing is people who run from you inside of a building.
Like you're a captive audience at this point. Like you're not. Where do you think you're gonna go? And
Yeah,
on
like
top of that, you know the building a hell of a lot better than they do.
yeah, like I
So
already know that you just ran down a dead end hallway and
so
there's no
now it's like
stairs
you
over
don't
there.
even have
Like
to
the
run. You can just
yeah,
walk.
like the stairs are on the other side. It's like please stop running because like I just don't. I hate running. I hate having to chase people. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
But like so something will happen like that. So there was an instance that happened like on the sixth floor for us. and we probably have the buildings differ, but that building I think had 10 flights.
Okay.
So sixth floor, you know, it's pretty up there. I was on the lower level, so that's two below the main floor. So,
Right.
and of course, the way they make the buildings is like ginormous because of whatever reasons. And so, like, each flight is like two flights.
Yeah.
So I went up there, and by the time I took the stairs, so it took a while. The elevator was taking super long.
So
I felt
you had to
very,
climb essentially 12 flights of stairs.
yeah, I felt very overconfident in myself. That died about on the third flight. So
Yeah.
I went,
I mean,
I blasted up those first two flights. I
I
felt
mean,
like a superhero. I was doing like, you know,
what the
like
fuck am I doing now?
I was doing three steps at a time. I was just bobbing and weaving up the stairs, bobbing and
Yeah.
weaving. I was going up. I was like, this is so easy. And then I hit like the third flight, and I was like, all right, one stair at a time, one stair at a time. And I hit the fourth, and I was like, ooh, it's how
So
many? What did he say? Sixth floor? I was like, wow.
it's a
So
deep
and then
burn.
yeah, and I like the fifth onto the sixth floor. I felt like I was literally carrying my legs up the stairs, and I was like, all
Yeah.
right, I made it, guys. It was still going on when I got up there, but
Oh my
I
god.
got up there, and like, there's a lot of people getting like cuffed and stuff like that. But it was like a big instance. We ended up grabbing like I want to say like 15 people, and at that time, like when you just run into an instance and you don't know exactly what's going on. In this case, it was just better to just cuff everybody, and then we have tape, so we'll just go back. You're just gonna get detained in the meantime,
Hmm.
and just figure it out from there. Like cuff everybody so that no one like gets away, and it doesn't seem like you're having any type of favoritism or bias towards anybody. Cuff everybody, throw them all in the holding cells, look at the footage, and then be like, okay, this guy didn't do anything. This guy was just standing there, whatever. Like,
So I feel like a lot of people don't really understand the difference between detained and arrested. Like what in from your perspective, what's the difference between someone's being detained and someone's being arrested, and what effect that has on their life, we'll say.
I would say detained for me means like I'm holding you because I'm not sure exactly what the situation is. I'm trying to figure that out by gaining more facts.
Right.
And when I find that out is when I will either release you to your own recognizance or I will arrest you based on the facts presented before me that I have the authority to. Like, okay, I saw that you either committed or did something. Now I'm going to arrest you for that. But
Right.
I can, like, if I feel like if I'm trying to figure out the correct like phrasing to like usually if I'm detaining somebody it's because I have a suspicion that they did something but I'm not clear on it, so I just want to
Right.
get more information. And arrest is that I already know that you did something,
Okay.
so I'm just going to pursue it.
So like if you're being detained, it may lead to absolutely nothing, and you may just get let go and nothing come of it because
Correct.
you weren't involved, or you know it turns out that you didn't do what was suspected of. Like you said, there might have been someone just standing there, and for precaution, for your safety, to make sure that you get everybody that actually was involved, you aggregate everybody and then figure it out and let the people go that weren't involved.
Correct.
And then arrested is what we all think of.
Yeah. So a lot of the time it'll just be like it doesn't necessarily mean like you're in trouble. It just means like I'm trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
more about the situation because a lot of times you're just in the middle of a situation and you have no idea what's happening, and then the response is obviously you're trying to think as fast as you can,
Yeah.
and you end up just either like sometimes like especially with brawls are super hard because it's like just chaotic and you have no idea who's fighting what for whatever reason, why. You don't know if anyone has weapons, so okay, I'm just gonna cuff everybody and then I'm gonna search everybody and then okay, I looked at the footage, you weren't in the fight, you don't have any weapons on you. See ya. You were in the fight, you were throwing punches, you don't have any weapons, so I'm just gonna arrest you for like assault. Whatever.
Right. So now that I know that we're coming up on almost an hour, a little bit over an hour here. I kind of want to end on the craziest thing that you've ever seen actually in the courtroom, or the craziest thing that you've seen on the job in any of the years that you've been in law enforcement. The craziest, most over the top, either, I don't want to say dangerous situation that you've been involved in, but like something that stands out in your mind that like when someone says, when you're talking to somebody, this is the story that you want to break out.
I have a really gross one.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, it's a short story. It's when I worked in prison.
Okay.
So, obviously, one of the things that happens is that you're escorting a lot of inmates to chow at one time. So, usually you have really bad odds, I would say. It's about like one officer to maybe like anywhere from like 38 to 44 inmates.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, at least where I worked. And it varies on the prison, and it also varies on like if it's maximum or minimum or whatever. And if it's like county jails or state facilities, city, all that fun stuff. But so regardless of that, it was during a chow run. So probably the most two dangerous parts in a prison are during rec time, like in the yard, recreational time in the yard, and during chow, which is just breakfast, lunch, or dinner, because no one's going to be cuffed, and there's going to be a lot of inmates in one place at one time, and there's no protection anywhere. It's just you, your fellow officers, and a whole bunch of people. So a bunch of people who don't like you.
Thrilled to be there.
So this happened on the way to chow. So these two inmates were having issues with each other. And see, I wasn't here. I was on a different block, but I responded to it. But so what I know is that these two inmates were having issues with each other. One was taller. One was like 5'9". I believe it was a 5'9", black male, whatever. He was talking like mad smack to this short Spanish guy. Like Spanish guy must have been like 5'2" or whatever.
Right.
So it happened over the course of like a couple of days that he was talking smack to this guy, like really picking on him.
Yeah.
So obviously, a lot of in the prison, the whole mentality is that it's survival of the fittest. So they kind of find people that they can make either do stuff for them, take their commissary, take their food, whatever, that they're going to just make their, whatever. But so the small Spanish guy was not having any of it. And I specifically remember, like, I always thought the most disrespectful thing someone could do is spit on you.
Oh, my
100%.
God. Oh, yeah.
That is the worst thing.
That's one of the worst things that it's like, ugh.
You could sucker punch me and I wouldn't feel as bad as if you spit on me. If you spit on me, you better hope that like you have 17 friends with you.
Oh my God. That's absolutely awful.
So the little guy was standing in a line waiting to go to chow, and the black guy was on his way back from chow. So there's always this one section if they're in the same block. Like a block is where they house, like, I guess, all the inmates. Like you have different blocks and they house a certain amount of inmates. But anyway, so they pass each other. This is like the only one. Very few times do two groups of inmates pass each other while they're being transported back and forth. This is one of the times. So as he's passing him, the black guy decides to spit on the Spanish guy. Oh. And he thought because he's short, he's not tall enough to reach his face. That dude jumped. This little Spanish guy jumped and knocked that guy right in his eye. And the gross part is that he managed to hit him right in like the cornea, and he knocked the guy's eye out.
Oh.
And that was it.
So like, was this guy literally walking around with his eye like hanging out of his head?
No, it came out like completely. It went on the ground.
Like detached all the way.
Like totally detached. Like he hit him perfect. Like it hit him like right here apparently is where it was, and like his knuckle went like here, and then it just I forget what the little thing is behind your eye, that like line that connects it.
I think that's the retinal nerve.
Yeah, whatever it was came out with it. Like that
Oh,
whole thing came out, and I remember going there, and they're like, "Yo," like obviously as you're responding to it, some people who are in front of you obviously have seen it before, and they're like,
yeah.
"By the way, you might want to slow down." And I was like, "What? Why?" And I ran into there, and I saw it, and then I saw the guy who's got one eye missing, and I was just like, "Bro," I was like.
Oh.
And then all the inmates were just cracking jokes. Like, I bet you didn't see that coming. They were talking to the guy, calling him One Punch Man, like dumb things like that.
Oh my god, that's a hell of a story to end on too.
It was that was probably the wildest thing I've ever seen. I was like, I've never seen anything like prison's all the crazy stuff, but like
Yeah.
I literally saw it. I was just like, that's just disgusting. And I was like, I was like, I don't have any. There's nothing else to say besides like, I don't have a comment for that. Like,
And it's always
why?
the little guy that like you push him a little bit too far, and then all of a sudden it's like you don't know what you're dealing with anymore.
Yeah, I was like, I've never met a small Spanish person who wasn't willing to prove himself in a fight. So I was like, I don't know why you would pick on that guy. Just seems weird. I was like, definitely now you're gonna regret it.
Well, yeah, I
But
mean permanent
and
damage
then
from that.
as far as I know, I mean, it was a while ago. That was a couple of years ago. But I don't think he ever was able to get his eye back. Like I think that was it. Like
I mean, you
I
punch an
don't think
eye
they
out. I
could.
don't think you can reattach that. Like if it was still
Yeah,
hanging, I would think like maybe they could, you know, push it back in or something like
yeah, or
that. But
something. I don't know,
like
but
once it's
yeah,
attached, I would assume like you're done. It's gone.
yeah,
Just
it
make peace with
was.
it.
Yeah, it was fucking wild.
Oh my
I was
god.
like, after that, I remember too. Like the funny thing too is like, so I had to redo another academy, and they're like, you guys are gonna see things you've never seen before. I was like, I've seen plenty of things. I was like, I don't
It's
want
like
to see
I've
anything
already
else.
seen some things.
I don't want to see anything else. I don't think anything could top that. That's literally anytime someone asks me, they're like, oh, can you tell me a story that you think is like the craziest thing? I'm like, this is literally the craziest thing. That really happens. It's disgusting, and it happens. That's all. That's all I have to say about it.
And as a side note, the Super Trooper stash is looking looking good.
I feel like I'm at 50% power.
Yeah, you gonna keep it going? Or are you gonna
Oh
like?
yeah, I want handlebars.
Are you like define handlebars? Like where on your face are you talking like the?
Probably like, probably like down.
Oh man, are you gonna get the mustache wax and curl it up?
I wish if I knew it could grow like that, then I probably would try it. But right now, I'm just
So
keeping
I
it
can
for.
actually do that if I take my mustache and curl it. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it on the camera,
Yeah, I could
but
actually.
so the key to that is you gotta, unfortunately, for me, what has made that easier is growing. I would assume just growing like a goatee, um, and letting it grow down your face. I mean, obviously, I have a full friggin' beard
Yeah,
at this point, but it hasn't been trimmed. Actually, the last time it was trimmed was right before PAX.
bro, it's
We're
been so
going
long,
on. Yeah, this beard is going on what 3 months now.
dude. I got a haircut after we went to PAX. I got a haircut that week, like before I
Yeah,
went on my trip. I haven't had a haircut since. I'm feeling the pain.
yeah. So am I.
I will pay to find a barber. I don't care if I gotta go to their house. I don't care if they gotta go to
Yeah,
mine.
I could. Hold on one second. Let me. We'll end the recording and the stream on that. And thank you for hanging out.